Hi, I'm Lynn, and ever since I was a little kid, I loved watching horror movies. When I became a teenager, maybe even like preteen, I would buy Christopher Pike books, and they were gory and bloody and amazing. And then later, I discovered Clive Barker and his novels, and they were even more bloody and disgusting and amazing. And so today, I'm going to count down my top 10 horror themed games. So my number 10 is technically a party game, and it's Stay Away. I don't generally like party games, but this one is fun. The premise is like the movie The Thing. One person is the thing and is trying to get all the other players to become things as well, and then the human players are trying to kill the thing or things depending, and no one knows who's who. You just have to kind of social deduction kind of figure it out. And so that's about it. That it's a really fun party game even for people who generally don't like party games. That was my number 10. My number 9 is Lock and Key. This was based on a graphic novel. I've never read the graphic novel, but it is a fun game. You are all sort of working together. It has a minimum of 3 players. You have to defeat these monsters and stuff. There's a number on the card that you have to match to defeat the card. So you have to work together, but the person who puts the most towards defeating will get that card and get victory points. So you do need each other, but you also, you want to get victory points. So it's sort of working together, but not completely. And I haven't played it in a very long time, but I remember always having fun when I did play it. And so that is my number 9. Now, my number 8 is Dead of Winter. It's a pretty popular game. It is survival horror. You are in all the player characters. It is co-op-ish. There can be a traitor, but you don't know if there is a traitor or not. You're all in sort of a compound, and you have to go out and scavenge for items. There's a lot of rolling a die and getting bitten by zombies. But it's very thematic, and it's a fun game. And that is my number 8. Now, number 10 is... Number 10? What? I don't know why I said number 10.
It's okay, keep going.
Okay. My number 7 is Attack of the Kaiju. In this game, all the players are giant monsters, and you are destroying buildings and stomping on army dudes and throwing other monsters into buildings, and sometimes even throwing other monsters into other monsters, depending on how many players. And it's a really fun game. The board is sort of small. That's my only complaint. But if you like stomping around on stuff and shooting laser beams. I don't know if there is actually one with laser beams, but it's a fun game. Just kind of like a battle game. Just all out battle, not really any strategy. And that was my number 7. My number 6 is Letters from Whitechapel. On this one, it recounts the killings of Jack the Ripper. One person is Jack, and the rest of the players play the detectives trying to catch Jack. It's really hard to beat Jack, or maybe it's just really hard for me. I've never won while trying to be Jack. This is very thematic too, because there's a timeline and it follows, the actual murders. You have the first one, and then there every certain number of turns the other murders happen, and then there's that one night where there's 2 of them happen at once, and it's pretty fun. Yeah, and that is my number 6. My number 5 is a co-op game. It is The Shadow over Westminster. you are all part of different secret societies, and there's this big cataclysm that is going to destroy London, and you're trying to avert that. Each faction has special abilities. There's a little bit of deck building in it, and then you also have access to your faction's special deck, which will give you your more special abilities. And there's a little bit of worker placement in it, and yeah, it's pretty fun. I know I don't know how well known it is, but if you see it, definitely pick it up if you like co-op and big ominous things destroying cities. That was my number 5. My number 4 is Zombie Dice. Rolling dice is always fun, and it's a good palate cleanser. I mean, it's just, there's not really a lot of theme here. I think they have a couple different kinds of just, the theme is pasted on with the dice rolling things. But it's fun. And you can play like 3 or 4 games within like 20 minutes and then go on to something heavier. That was my number 4. My number 3 is Gothic Doctor. This one is out of print, I believe. But what it is you are a doctor in Victorian-ish times, and there are a bunch of monsters from literature and film that you are trying to cure. So they have, they have multiples of smaller ones like banshees and ghosts and poltergeists, and then they have actual, they have the Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula and bigger ones that are worth more points to cure. And it's hand management and set collecting because, vampires will need fang extraction and garlic and something else to cure them. And, yeah, it's a really fun game. And that was my number 3. My number 2 is Murder of Crows. It is a card game with a slight take that element. Most of the cards, you're trying to spell the word murder, and then once you do spell the word murder, it tells a little story of a murder. And most of the cards have some kind of effect where they will affect other players' hands. There are ways to block it. You have to discard cards in order to block the effect. And it's a really fun game, and it's always, the little murders are usually ridiculous, and because they have things like dissolved in bleach as a way to murder someone, or mauled by poodles. It's ridiculous and lighthearted. It's not as serious as it sounds. And that is my number 2. And then my number 1 horror-themed game is Shuffling Horror, Roswell 51. This one is you are playing like a B movie from the 1950s. One person is the director, which they control all the monsters, and then the other players are characters from the B movies, and you're trying to defeat the monsters. And you go through each reel because it's based on a movie. So they have 4 reels, and if the director wins if he can turn all of the character players into pod players, and the players win if they just survive until the end of the movie. And so this was my number 1 horror-themed board game, and so that was my list of top 10 horror-themed games. Comment down below and let me know what your favorite horror-themed games are. And if you like this list and want to see more like it, make sure to like the video, share it on social media, and subscribe to the Board Game Captain on YouTube. And until next time, game on.